What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is going to be something a little, well, back to normal, but a little different as well. We are actually taking over a team in Obo's other league, his Uber's league, the GUU, or the GUU, however you want to pronounce it. We did take over the team last week, and I did go ahead and battle that battle on Showdown, as I had about 15 minutes to prep, or I got a forfeit. So I went ahead and I won that game, 1-0. But it was on Showdown, and it was pretty like crappy prep and everything, and I didn't really want to record that. So we started off 0-3 with a -7 differential, and we won last week. So that is putting us, as you saw in the thumbnail, 1-3. We are -6 differential, but I do think we can make a comeback from this. This week we are taking on the Blazing Squid and his Toronto Totodiles. Boy, does he have a scary team, dude. He has Xerneas, Mega-medicham. I mean, you can see some stuff on here like Araquanid, Victini, Mammothswine. I mean, just some scary threats. Now, we did bring a Z Tornadus, fairly simple. I did mess up the speed EVs, actually. It may or may not come into play. But we actually are speed tying with Victini instead of outspeeding Victini. That was a mess up. We are a max HP, max defense Giratina, specifically for Victini. We could take any hit whatsoever from this Victini that it ever wants to go for, whether physical or special, really, because blue flares, V creates, bolt strikes, nothing. Nothing's doing much to our Giratina. We have a bulk up, max speed Mega-medicham. We have an assault vested. Wait, sorry, not assault vested. Sugarberry Magearna with a load of special defense to live hits from Xerneas and to live at least one hit from Mamo and KO back with Flash Cannon. We have a spinning Whirlpool Toxic Blastoise, and then we have our Rocks Choice Scarfed Crocodile. So let's go ahead and take a look at this battle. This is a fairly long battle, actually. It took us in game like 30 minutes almost. I think almost 30 minutes to do this battle. So he does go ahead and lead off with his Mawile. I thought he would lead off with maybe a Araquanid to go ahead and get up his sticky webs. I don't necessarily want to take a hit from this thing. And I know that it can never outspeed me, and so he does make a switch, which was interesting, maybe fearing the heat wave. As I do go ahead and click U-turn just to get some momentum up on this thing. Now, I didn't have too much prep for this Golbat, to be honest. But I do have Soham, which is our Mega-medicham, which I can OHKO with this Zen Headbutt depending on its EVs. I do believe like just a max HP Zen Headbutt would take it out. In comes the Mega-medicham to intimidate me once more, as I go ahead and click that Zen Headbutt, as I didn't want to play any games, because bulking up in front of the Golbat was not smart, not at all. So I do go ahead and click the Zen Headbutt, and we do get a clean chunk of chip damage off on this Mega-medicham, down about roughly 25%, which does not put it into Drain Punch range yet, so I cannot go for that. As I do go ahead and I send in my Crocodile, ready to take a play rough at this point, honestly. Ready to take a play rough, as he goes ahead and he makes a double with his Mega-medicham, preserving that Intimidate, I'm assuming, or maybe thinking that High Jump Kick could kill from there. As he sends in his Victini, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, he's just going to switch out here. He stays in as I put up my Stealth Rocks, and I'm like, well, V-Create kills me at this point. As he's not intimidated, which is actually terrible. It's actually terrible. He actually goes for the Z V-Create, which actually helps me out tremendously, as I know this thing isn't Scarfed or Banded. That helps. I mean, that helps in the rest of the battle so much. But we actually could have KO'd this thing with our Earthquake right off the bat. So I make a misplay here, which puts me down heavily, as this was my Victini somewhat answer. Like it was between this and Giratina. And I said, there's no way that he's gonna stay in on this thing. No way. My dual stabs take care of this thing so well. And he actually, like a mad lad, stays in and kills me. As he goes ahead and he clicks Toxic here. Oh my god, that's one of the most fire shinies I've ever seen. He goes ahead and he clicks Toxic here. as Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball spam is free for me. It's just absolutely free. And we do a clean 65% to this Victini. And like I said again, Shadow Ball is absolutely free, as he lets Mamoswine take a huge chunk of damage here, between rocks doing a little bit of chip damage and Shadow Ball knocking him down to roughly 50-ish%, roughly. Which that's actually huge. Him allowing that damage, and I'm actually just gonna stay in, as I can eat an Icicle Crash and take it out because of that Spin F drop. I'm just gonna stay in. I mean, go for it, buddy. As he sends in his Golbat to eat the Shadow Ball or whatever else I would have went for, and to possibly get a defog off, which is actually horrible for me, as I have no other way of getting my rocks back up, and it would almost KO Victini. So at this point, I'm like, alright, well, I'm going to shut this Golbat down so that I can set up on this thing if I ever need to. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off a Will-O-Wisp on this thing just to hinder this thing for the future, as really my Giratina can be at any health above like 20%, I believe, and I can take a hit from Victini. I believe that's what it was. No, I think it was doing like 13%. I forget what the exact set. I think V-Crate was doing 15% to me, something along those lines. Or 20%, it doesn't matter. Nothing. As long as I can stay up pretty healthy, I can eat hits from the Victini, no problem. So I go ahead and I switch back in my Wolfie, as I don't mind taking damage from this thing. As he goes ahead and he clicks the U-turn, and I'm pretty positive at this point, with a lot of the Pokemon that I've seen, the only thing that could be Scarfed would be the Xerneas. As he sends it out, I was like, okay, I need to find out if this thing is Scarfed or not. He goes ahead and he sends in his Xerneas. I outspeed and I fire off my Flying EMZ, and I know that this will not KO, but it'll do 75%-ish, and that's unrecoverable damage for this Xerneas, which is amazing. Because this plus a Hurricane will KO this thing, and I know that if he's physical, Rock Slide won't kill me. If he's special, Moonblast won't kill me. We do about 65-ish%, 70%, something along the... Oh man, I got the hiccup. Sorry about that. As his Moonblast does an absolute massive amount of damage to us. As I'm going to fire off this Hurricane. He has nothing really that wants to take these Hurricanes. And if we land on this Golbat, it is a 2-hit KO, which we do not land on the stupid Golbat. Which is actually huge, because this gives him a chance to get a little bit more chip damage off on me, as I go ahead and I click a Hurricane one more time. To try and knock this thing out, which I know that I can't. So this is actually huge that he gets to save this for a sack later. Absolutely massive that I missed that Hurricane, as he gets to save his Golbat. And he sends in his Kid Flash, which is his Victini, and I know that my Hurricane can actually KO this thing from here as well. So I'm just going to fire off another yeah, I think I fire off another Hurricane here. No, I switch out to get a little bit of Regenerator. That's what it was. My bad. I didn't want to take that risk, because that's when I found out that I was actually speed tied. That I actually speed tie with that stupid Victini. And I said, I don't want to take that risk. He doesn't know that I don't want to take that risk. He should know that I'm most likely going to outspeed. But I don't want to take the speed tying risk. As any move I really want to go for here, it can KO this Golbat if I want to stay in. Which he actually swaps it out to save for a sack later. As my Shadow Ball here will do absolutely 0. Because I'm guessing he didn't have Roost on the Golbat, maybe? I'm not positive. Or he just knew that it was setup fodder. As the Shadow Ball does about 4 damage to this Araquanid, I'm like, well, he's getting webs up here almost no matter what. This sucks. This sucks. So at this point, I still need to save my Giratina for the Victini. As I go ahead and I send in my Blastoise, I can eat any hit he wants to go for and try and start spinning away these webs. As he goes ahead and gets his webs up, and I want to try and trap this thing in with Whirlpool Toxic as well, just to wear this thing down as best that I can. As Blastoise is really only needed for Mamoswine, and I may not even need it if I can keep my Magearna healthy. So I'm going to go ahead and trap this thing in with Whirlpool, as he has Toxic of his own. If he didn't have Toxic on his Mon, I could have just Toxic stalled this thing to death very quickly. very, very, very quickly. But he does have Toxic of his own. So this next turn, my plan is to click Toxic on this thing to start wearing it down. At this point, I'm A-okay with Blastoise going down if need be. Which is what happens. I do land the Toxic, and he does show me that he does have Leech Life, which was interesting. It didn't hurt my team too bad, but it does suck because it does give him a little bit of HP recovery, enough that I think I might die to Toxic before he does. With the way that these Toxic turns are going to wrap up. So at this point, I want to try and spin away these webs so that I can get a free switch in. Because a free switch in is so important to me right now. So that is kind of the goal, is get these webs out, because getting the webs away, I kind of see that Mega-medicham can go in. At this point, Mega-medicham can kill almost everything left on his team if I can get to +1. As he just goes ahead and fires off a liquidation. Now, oh god, what? Get off my screen. Yikes, sorry about that. I didn't click that. That came on its own. Anyways. So at this point, I'm like, I'm very low health. I have the web spinned off. I want to get a free switch in. Oh, Jesus. Get off my screen. I want a free switch in, as he's most likely going to be clicking webs here again. As he would win that war if he was just spammed webs as I spammed rapid spin. He would win that. As he goes ahead and gets his webs up, and as I get a free switch into my Tornadus here, which I know from this range, Hurricane would pick me up a KO against this Araquanid. And he has 0 switch-ins, minus the Golbat. See, this is where the Golbat misses killed, because this thing would have been dead and he would have had 0 switch-ins to a Hurricane. But no, he does have the Golbat left still, which is great because we bring it down to a 5-5 so far. This is a very long battle to only be at 5-5. But we are worn down pretty tough, and he is worn down pretty tough. Everything on his team almost is below half, I think, or close. So we do miss a Hurricane here, which is absolutely massive. As of course he lands a Bolt Strike, because Hurricane would have picked off this Victini here. So that's 2 absolutely massive Hurricanes missed so far. Either one mattered tremendously, because Tornadus would have been just putting in work. So I send in Giratina as, again, this is always my switch in to this Victini. Sadly, I do not have defog on this. I actually have EQ. EQ is free here, and I probably should have went for it, as he switches in his Xerneas. And Shadow Ball, as you can see from this range, he might be like fairly bulky, because I don't remember the roll, but he actually lived the Shadow Ball fairly easy, actually. I'm hoping that he will over predict here and click something else, as instead of no, I take that back. I switched into Magearna as I felt like I could eat 2 of his Moonblasts. My bad. I just did this battle, but I'm forgetting it all. He clicks this Moonblast, and it actually does a massive amount of damage, way more than I expected. And he gets the special attack drop. I'm like, that's terrible. I'm like, I'm just gonna click Volt Switch here, and because it does like 20% or so, that's enough to take it out. And takes me down to about half and gets another spectacular drop, and I'm like, oh god, please kill. There's just, please, I'm -2, please. Oh, thank god it killed. Thank god that killed. We are down to half, which is actually terrible, because at this point it's a roll not in our favor to live. Like, I mean, I think it's like a 30% chance to live an Earthquake from a Life Orb Mamoswine. As at this point, I don't think we've seen Mamoswine attack yet, so I don't know if he's Life Orbed or Assault Vest or Choice in any way. I have no idea. So I switched this Blastoise in just so that I can hopefully get a Rapid Spin off, because Medicham can go in at +1 if I can get these webs to go away. That is my absolute win con right there, is to get Mega-medicham up to +1. As he lands the Volt Strike, of course, he can land his moves, but I can't land mine. As we do lose Blastoise here, which is kind of okay. It's not the worst. As again, we still have our Giratina to just spam Shadow Ball on his team, as he has 0 switch-ins to these Shadow Balls. And it should pick off the Victini from this range if he wants to keep it in there, or it will, most definitely, because he's -1. But he goes ahead and he sends in his Mawile, which this is where, again, I have free Earthquakes, but I decide, nah fam, I'll click Shadow Ball, which is, I guess, okay because of the attack drop. But he actually lives on a sliver here. I mean, just an absolute sliver. And I'm thinking, alright, at this point I have 0 switch-ins to this Mega Mawile. I have to like hope that he's a negative speed nature for whatever reason. It's the only way that I can outspeed this thing. Or if it's just like extremely slow. I don't think we could even, I don't think we could overspeed him with our 0 speed creep as well. So we do take the play rough and die. That's a-okay, as I can revenge kill this Mega Mawile with Bullet Punch on our Mega-medicham, because if he is actually max speed Jolly, he can outspeed us by 1 point under webs, which is wild. That Mega Mawile can outspeed anything. So we do go ahead and fire off the Bullet Punch here. Thank God rocks were not up on my side, as rocks would have really hindered this game, because we do make tons of switches, and rocks would have chipped our team down so much. But actually playing with no rocks and only webs on our side was actually, oh, it was so nice. He sends in this Victini, and I say, okay, the only way I can win this is if I sack this off right now. My Magirna here, as he V creates, because he can't kill me with anything else. I'm full HP. He cannot kill me with anything else. V create is the only thing that he can kill me with. So he fires off the V create here, putting him at -1 defenses and a -1 speed, which is a speed tie if he's max speed Jolly. So now that I know with my Mega-medicham that the only possible way I can win this game right now is if I click bulk up and I win the speed tie twice. I have to click bulk up, win the speed tie, and then click an attacking move to KO it. Which actually he swaps out. He may not have been max speed Jolly. Where I make a huge play and I click bulk up there. I mean, that was I'm taking a huge risk, because V-Create there would have just straight up knocked me out. As he goes ahead and he sends in his Araquanid, I take a ton of damage from this thing, so that I cannot bulk up for a second time, as I might as well just go ahead and Drain Punch this thing to death, as it is a guaranteed KO from the range that he's at. Thankfully, Blastoise chipped this thing down enough to where I was a guaranteed OHKO with Drain Punch at that range. At this point, I can live any V-Create, as we do know that he was a Z move and he's already used it. I can live any V-Create non-crit, as he does knock us down to about 30 HP, and Drain Punch, because of his -1, because again, he could only kill with V-Create, or do that much with V-Create. Because of his -1, we do knock him out with Drain Punch. Even without the -1, it was like a 90-something% roll, so I mean, Bullet Punch would have taken it out from that range, even if we didn't get the roll. As he sends in his Mamoswine, and because he let this thing get chipped down by rocks and Shadow Ball, we actually pick up the KO here with Bullet Punch, and we do pick up a 1-0 win for our second battle here in the GUU. So, in my book, I'm 2-0 +2. But for the league, because we did take over a losing team, we are sitting at a nice clean 2-3 -5 differential, which I do feel like we could make a comeback from. The differential, probably not. Unless we get a 6-0 here or there, it's going to take us a long time to get that differential back. As I'm not playing for the differential at this point, I'm playing for the wins. I don't really care about the differential, because I don't think it's going to matter too much, as wins are more important. Let's see the standings, because I know that doesn't leave us in too bad of a spot. So the standings currently, we are sitting at the 13th place, but we're, depending on how things go, somewhat tied with all the way up to 7th place. As each one of those people have 2 wins, so a couple of them have 3 losses, so depending on how things go, we could move our way up the ladder here, as really we're fairly close with any of these teams, and really differential is the only thing holding us back from moving up the ladder. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed it and are excited that we have another Wi-Fi league back on the channel, please drop a like down below and leave a comment saying what you like or what you think about the new team. I've always wanted to use Magirna. Giratina is nuts that I get to use it, and I've been wanting to use Tornadus T for so long, and I keep getting sniped, and so I'm pretty happy to have it. I can go a little quick rundown of what else I have, some things that you don't see in this battle. I also have Tangrowth, Goodra, Heliolisk, Mesprit, and Licky Licky, where Tornti and Heliolisk are my Z users. So anyways, guys, I will see you guys next week for week 6. Peace out.